So this is part 3 and the final video of this tutorial series where we look at how to create the Pumpkins and Goblins game re-envisioned with assets from Firebase. Hey everyone, this is Al over at GameDevHQ.com. Like and subscribe to this video, share it with your friends, check out our other videos and tutorials on our site, and be sure to log into GameDevHQ and sign up for a free account to see how you can become a greater game developer. Of course, this tutorial was inspired by the people over at AwesomeTuts, the hero over at AwesomeTuts, and he created a game called Pumpkins and Goblins, and we did a little reimagining of the level using assets from Firebase, and we are going to cover a bunch of things today. So we're going to cover animating the camera, animating the door, we're going to go into light probes, we're going to go into post-processing, and we're going to clean up and look at our final product to see if it is capable of running and able to deploy on video game systems. Let's do this main camera. So how do we animate this camera? And we know it's going to do one movement. It's going to come over here, it's going to go to the end, and it's going to do this kind of wavy line in between. How do we do this? Real simple. We are just going to create a simple animation. So go to folder, go to animation, and we'll call this camera path, right? And we don't need to dive into Cinemachine in this one. This is going to be so simple. It's pretty straightforward. Go ahead and drop camera path into our animation, and it's going to create this camera path animator. So here's the animator for the camera path, and here, or the main camera animator, and here's the camera path animation, right? So I'm going to zoom out, and I'm going to say I'm going to go from 0, which is where I want this camera to start. So let me go ahead and set my camera up to be let's see, I'm going to set this to -180, and here I'm just going to actually select my camera, -180, and then I'm going to go to, let's say, second 10, and I want to select my let's see, I want to select all the way up to this door. And at this door, I'm going to set this. I'm going to select my main camera, and I'm going to make sure I am at second 10. I'm going to hit F. So now my camera should basically go from here to the end, and you could see that on the preview. So then I want to say at this point, so if I go ahead and see this real time, you could see the playback right here. So if I were to select my main camera, and in my scene, let's say, go to this spot, I hit the record button, and then I tell my main camera, move over to this area. And then when I get over to, let's say, this location, I tell my main camera, hey, go to this location as well. So now I can go back to my main camera, turn off my record button, and then you could see that I'm flying through all the way to the door, okay? And how do I move the camera to my position? I use game object. It's a quick key now for me. I've gotten pretty used to it. But it's if I select the main camera, there is align with view. So it's Shift Command F on a computer, a Mac. I don't know what it is for PC, but it's generally the same movements. So the next thing I want to do is I'm going to go to my scene, and I want to select my door. And inside this door, I'm going to turn off these static tags because the frame is going to remain static, but not necessarily this door, because I want the door to animate. So, but I'm going to use this main door as a parent to animate this. So I'm actually going to take this door out of my static folder for right now, just so I can make sure that I see it and it's easy to locate, etc., etc. And then what I want to do is I want to also, where is, actually cancel. Let me just hide this real quick. Okay. What I want to do is there's this like, I want to be able to select the door and have the door be the parent that animates the children doors right here. And I want them to animate at like door second 7 and open all the way by second 9. So how do I do that? Same format. Just go ahead and create a animation. And we're going to call this door opening. And in my main door parent, I'm going to drop door opening into this area. And it's going to create this door 3, which I don't know. Oh, it called it by the parent. I'm just going to call this door for right now. And then I can click inside of this animator. And we can script this to be open up at 10 seconds. Or, you know, we don't even have to, since we know when it's supposed to open up, which is at 7 seconds. We can actually just keyframe the time that it opens. So click on the property tab and you can actually go down to, let's say, door 3 left, door 3 right. So I want to select this particular door and I want to see, okay, I want it to open on the Z to like 86 for door L. And I'm assuming the door R, I want to open it to a negative 86, right? So if I go to add a property, door L, transform, rotation, right? And then on the, I'm going to delete this first keyframe. I'm going to move this keyframe over to here. And then at 9 seconds, I'm going to hit record and I'm going to say open up to here. Now, if I play this back, you're going to see that at 7 seconds, it starts opening, and at 9 seconds, it's fully opened. Turn off my recording button, and then I'm going to add another rotation property for transform rotation. I'm going to hit the plus for the right door. I'm going to move this keyframe over. I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to turn on the record button, and I'm going to open up this door to, let's say, that large. So as we hit this time point of 7 seconds, both doors start creaking open to reveal what's behind it. And so how does this look playing back? Well, let's give it a quick playback shot. All right, so doors are opening. And there's the door opening right there. Very cool. So it totally worked. The next thing I want to do is we're going to go ahead and create a plane. And we want this plane to kind of sit behind our door. And this plane is going to emit that really bright light that occurs when the player enters the doorway. So I'm just going to go ahead and drag this right behind the door. Set this for right now here. And then I'm going to go to my materials. And I'm just going to call this light. And I'm going to drop this onto my particular sphere right here, my plane. And inside of here, I want to turn on emission. So in emission, I'm going to set this to, let's say, a pretty bright white right there. Okay. And then I'm going to increase the height of this and I'm going to set it behind the door. So when we do hit a point where the door begins to open, which if I were to select, let's see, door right here, it opens up. You can now see the light cracking through behind it, which looks pretty darn good. So then all we really need to do now is add in our post-processing stack. And that should make this thing look really good. Now, I've done post-processing to the point where I'm blue in the face at this point. So if you want post-processing, please go check out our other post-processing tutorials. So I'll just call this post-processing. Okay, so then I just need to make sure that this door, when it opens up, it's bright and emissive in here, which it isn't right now. So I'm going to click on my light surface, and inside the HDR, let's see. Oh, I'm going to go ahead and pull this out. See, that's nice and bright right there. So I want to make sure that the HDR, nope, good. Is it too bright right there? Probably too bright right there. Go down one. I'll put this behind the door, just like that. And then I'll click on the door and it will open up. Ooh. You know, that big old light of God coming in scenario. So now let's also add in our light probe. So we got our light probe group into our scene. And we're just going to do this real quick and dirty. So we'll do 2 rows above and 2 rows below. So I'm going to bring this row down, let's say here, and then I'm going to select these 4, drag these right here, and then I'm going to go ahead and grab these and space them out top down wise. So you got 2 right here, 2 right here. And then I'm just going to duplicate these selected probes, and I'm going to set those right here. Duplicate in the center where it's dark. Duplicate again where it's lighter. Duplicate where it's dark. And there we go. I'm just going to grab all of these, move these right here, and then I'm going to duplicate these. Drop these right here. Duplicate these selected. And I'm just going to kind of work my way down till it crashes. Alright, so hopefully it doesn't crash again. And we'll finish out this light probe group. And I think I'm running into an issue with my LODs and my my barrels, which is interesting. I don't know if this is a glitch or not, but you see how as I get closer, my barrels start changing colors, and that's usually an LOD issue. So I'm curious if I should just take my my barrels, which are right here, and I'll just remove the static tag off of these and just have them pre-lit with the natural lights in the scene, and kind of go from there, and have them lit by the light probes versus having them static. So let me just go ahead and set these up here. I'm going to take these light probes, move them up here. And we created a whole tutorial about light probes, but just to kind of explain, light probes take static baked lighting information and project that onto non-static elements, such as these barrels and such. So as you're moving this through your scene, your barrel will take in light information. I'm just going to play around with the lights just a little bit more. But I think this looks pretty good so far. I kind of like what I see. I honestly think I did a better job probably with the last tutorial. But, you know, this is acceptable. Now, when you guys start building your levels, a couple recommendations I would make is maybe not have so many lights in the room. You know, because it does increase your bake times. You know, now it's taking me about 7 minutes to bake out a room, and that's quite a bit of time. It's still CPU based, and you know, if I had GPUs with 1080s, it would go a lot faster. But yeah, and most people don't have that stuff, and so you know, something that I would recommend is possibly bringing it down a little bit. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, this is our scene right here. And it does the animation. So as soon as it's done baking out, we will press play and test it out. Okay, so before we end up finishing this up, let's just go to rendering and occlusion culling. And then we want to go ahead and bake. This is going to bake all the static stuff in our scene. So when we're not looking at it, and I'll show you the camera, when we're not looking at it, you'll see all that stuff kind of go away. So it kind of saves in processing. And then, finally, we will go to game. Here's our game view. Let's set this in proper 16:9 so you guys can see if this is any good or not. And let's hit play and see what this looks like. Okay, here's our scene. What do we need to add? We need to add, oh, in our main camera, whoops. Inspector, main camera, anti-aliasing, set to fast, and then let's hit play. Fast mode, play. Okay. I think our bloom is a little strong, which is why we could see it like tearing through here. So we'd probably have to adjust that. Woo, it's really hot. So yeah, I mean, that's something that I think we could fix, but let's look at our stats. Okay. We got a little under 150,000 triangles, which is great. 138 frames per second. Our mesh set pass calls are a little at max about 100. I think we're doing really good. We got a lot saved by batching because of the static batching. I think a lot of the extra draw calls are coming from the barrels and the LODs, so something to look into on my end. But overall, I feel really good about what I'm seeing right here. And it kind of gives you an idea of how we can make that Pumpkins and Goblins game using the assets from the file base and the new HDRP pipeline and see what it can come up with. So I hope this was a good tutorial. I hope it wasn't a lot of me mumbling and jumbling all over. And now that you got the actual scene, how about you hop on over to AwesomeTuts and see how you can build the game from there. Using their tutorial, and that'd be pretty interesting to see what you guys come up with. Well, this is Al over at GameDevHQ.com, and thank you for checking this episode out. I hope you guys learned something from it. We will put this file up on Filebase, so if you are pro members, you can just download it and start working on it right away, so you don't have to build this whole thing out. Hope you enjoyed it. We're out of here. Take care. Talk to you later.